In a sport that constantly markets itself as the purest form of competition, where rankings, skill, and performance are supposed to determine opportunity, there's an uncomfortable question that keeps resurfacing. What happens when a fighter does everything right and still doesn't get the shot? And more importantly, how long can that reality be ignored before fans start to lose faith in the system itself?
We're probably going to get sued. You couldn't up anything worse than that.
You will not be in line for the next contention for the title.
Arman's a man. He knows how this played out.
This guy's a big problem at 155 pounds.
The story of Arman Tsarukyan sits right at the center of that debate. His rise, setbacks, and current position in the Ultimate Fighting Championship reveal a tension that has always existed in combat sports, but feels more visible now than ever. Is the UFC truly about merit, or is it about moments, narratives, and marketability? Tsarukyan's journey doesn't begin with hype or privilege in the fighting world. Despite coming from a financially stable background, something relatively rare in MMA, his path was never about survival or escaping poverty. That alone sets him apart from many fighters whose motivation is rooted in necessity. So why step into one of the most brutal sports on the planet when you don't have to?
After when I went to sleep, I started to feel my lower back, and I couldn't sleep all night, and I woke up, like maybe I slept like 30 minutes for a whole night, I don't know. And I was feeling like crazy pain on my lower back, and but that morning I didn't train, and we said we're gonna wait until evening, and let's see what how my back gonna feel.
What drives someone who already has comfort to pursue chaos? Originally, Tsarukyan was an ice hockey prospect. That path offered structure, stability, and a more conventional athletic career. But something about fighting, its rawness, its unpredictability, pulled him in. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about fame. It was about testing himself in the most unforgiving environment possible. And that mindset would shape everything that followed. His early career delivered a harsh reality check. In just his second professional fight, he was stopped in under a minute. For many fighters, that kind of loss becomes a permanent stain, a psychological hurdle that never fully disappears. But what if that moment was necessary? What if it stripped away any illusion of an easy path and replaced it with something far more dangerous, an obsession with improvement?
They saying that headbutt, pull out, punch, that I punch fan, but I didn't punch him. I just made him scared, you know. And yeah, because of that, so I can just say yes and just wait my chance.
Because from that point forward, Tsarukyan didn't just win, he evolved. Over the next couple of years, he built an impressive streak across regional promotions, showcasing a relentless pace and an increasingly sophisticated skill set. His wrestling was dominant, but what made him stand out was his willingness to expand beyond it. He became comfortable striking, scrambling, adapting mid-fight. He wasn't just beating opponents, he was learning how to dismantle them in different ways. And perhaps most importantly, he stayed active, fighting multiple times a year, absorbing damage, recovering quickly, and stepping back in. It's a pace that few can maintain without consequences. So the question becomes, how much of that grind contributes to greatness, and how much of it quietly takes something away? By the time the UFC came calling, Tsarukyan wasn't just another prospect, he was a calculated risk. And the way he entered the promotion made that clear. His short-notice debut against Islam Makhachev is not how fighters are typically introduced. It's the kind of matchup that can end a career before it starts. So why take it? And why was he willing to accept that level of danger so early? The answer lies in mindset.
The newcomer, Tsarukyan, running a 4-fight win streak. Islam Makhachev. They touch him up. Tsarukyan in the red, Makhachev in the gray.
Tsarukyan wasn't looking for a slow build. He wanted to test himself against the best immediately. And in doing so, he created one of the most memorable losses in recent UFC history. Over 3 rounds, he pushed Makhachev in a way few others had, engaging in high-level grappling exchanges that surprised even seasoned analysts. He didn't win, but he changed perception. And sometimes, in the fight game, that matters almost as much as the result. From there, his climb seemed inevitable. He began stacking wins, each performance sharper than the last. Fighters like Beneil Dariush and Dan Hooker became milestones in his progression, tests that he passed with increasing authority. His confidence grew, but it wasn't arrogance. It was the belief of someone who understood exactly where he stood in the division. Yet even as his record improved, the path ahead remained uncertain. And that's where things start to get complicated. In 2022, Tsarukyan faced Mateusz Gamrot in a fight that many expected to define the next title contender. It was a grueling technical battle, 5 rounds of constant adjustments, scrambles, and momentum shifts. When the decision went to Gamrot, the reaction was immediate. Debate flooded social media. Analysts dissected every round. Fans argued over who truly deserved the win. But here's the deeper question. In a fight that close, does the result matter more than the performance? And if a fighter proves they belong at the top level, should a single decision, especially a controversial one, be enough to slow their trajectory? For Tsarukyan, it did.
In Florida at American Top Team, Arman Tsarukyan for the first time did this fight camp right here in Las Vegas. About five rounds if needed. This fight clock is brought to you by Toyo Tires, the official tire of the UFC.
At least temporarily. But what followed showed something critical about his character. Instead of demanding opportunities or sitting out for a bigger fight, he stayed active. He took risks. He continued to fight dangerous opponents. And he won, convincingly. His knockout of Dariush, in particular, felt like a statement. It wasn't just a victory, it was a declaration that he was ready for the title picture. So why didn't that moment lead directly to a championship opportunity? This is where the conversation shifts from sport to business. The UFC has always walked a fine line between meritocracy and entertainment. Big fights sell, big personalities draw attention. And sometimes that means certain fighters get opportunities ahead of others, not because they're more deserving, but because they're more marketable. Is that fair? Or is it simply the reality of a global entertainment product? Tsarukyan's situation becomes even more layered when you consider the controversies surrounding him. The incident where he struck a fan during a walkout may not have resulted in a major suspension, but it likely affected how he was perceived internally. Add to that his decision to decline a short-notice title fight, and suddenly a narrative begins to form.
What a way to finish. Wow, he wanted to test himself over the course of 25 minutes, and Arman Tsarukyan did so. Mateusz Gamrot comes up big in the later rounds. It's anybody's guess. Our main event scorecards are coming up next.
But here's the question. Should a fighter be punished for making strategic decisions about their career? Is turning down a 7-week turnaround for a title fight a sign of weakness or a sign of professionalism? Then came the moment that seemed to change everything. Scheduled for a title rematch against Makhachev, Tsarukyan was finally set to compete for gold. It was the culmination of years of work, setbacks, and perseverance. And then, just before the fight, he pulled out due to a back injury. Injuries are part of the sport. They're unavoidable, but perception matters. And in this case, the perception, fair or not, was damaging. Questions were raised, doubts were introduced, and suddenly, instead of being the next challenger, Tsarukyan was being told to rebuild. So what does going back to the drawing board really mean for a fighter at his level? It means fighting again, proving yourself again, taking risks again, and hoping that this time the opportunity doesn't slip away. Even after stepping in as a backup fighter for future title bouts, doing exactly what the UFC often asks of its athletes, Tsarukyan remained on the outside. Meanwhile, others were given chances that seemed, at least on paper, less earned. And that's where fan frustration reaches its peak.
After my first win, I wanted to be a champion, and I started thinking about championship. And when Islam got the belt, I said I want to fight with Islam for the belt. So it's a rematch and fight for the belt.
Because this isn't just about one fighter, it's about a pattern. A cycle where certain names continue to circulate around title fights while others, equally or more deserving, are forced to wait. Is it about trust? Is it about timing? Or is it simply about who fits the narrative at a given moment?
Arman? Yes. I'm not surprised because this guy talked about rematch all his life.
I'm the best in this division.
I don't remember this, maybe third time or fourth time the UFC give him chance to fight with me and he say no. I know after the UFC told me we give you opponent after UFC 300.
As the lightweight division continues to shift, with champions like Makhachev exploring new weight classes and new contenders emerging, the landscape becomes even more unpredictable. Superfights take priority. Vacant titles create new dynamics. And in the middle of it all, fighters like Tsarukyan are left trying to navigate a system that doesn't always reward consistency. So where does that leave him? Still dangerous, still improving, still one of the most complete fighters in the division. But I'm still waiting. And maybe that's the most compelling part of his story. Not the wins, not the losses, but the uncertainty. The idea that even at the highest level, nothing is guaranteed. Because in the end, fighting isn't just about skill. It's about timing, opportunity, and sometimes luck. And for Arman Tsarukyan, the question remains, how long can you chase greatness before the system forces you to take a different path? Will he eventually get his shot and prove that he belongs at the very top? Or will his prime be defined by near misses and what-if scenarios? The answers aren't clear, and maybe they never will be. But one thing is certain, Fighters like him don't disappear. They don't fade quietly into the background. They keep pushing, keep evolving, keep demanding attention. And eventually, whether the system allows it or not, they force the world to see them. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.